And we are seeing a situation now where crime is significantly out of control. We have over 500 plus persons being murdered a year in a significantly small country of just over 1.3, 1.4 million people. So we have to ask ourselves, if over so many years, and recently on one of the newspaper articles, they boasted over 70, or close to 70 billion or 71 billion has been spent in the last 10 years in the Ministry of National Security. We have to ask ourselves, was this money spent effectively in implementing the right programs to bring about results? And as both you and I can see for sure, and as witnessed by the general public of Trinidad and Tobago, there has been no improvement in crime. So we must find some sort of measure, accountability, because, Andy, look at it in this way. Private sector initiatives, we in the private sector would look at things differently and manage, I would probably say, a little more with an iron fist. And when I say that, is that if, for example, you or myself, we invest $10 billion into a project, and we hire managers and supervisors and the whole array of the line management team, and we give them the budget that is required to achieve a certain goal and outcome. And if these goals and outcomes are not bearing fruit, I can tell you in private sector, we would have made changes and some heads would have rolled and reappointments would have happened, because I strongly believe that even though we implement plans and strategies within the TTPS, they implement all these plans and strategies. We have to ask ourselves, are these plans being reviewed? And when they are reviewed, are changes being made? Are they being adjusted? Are they being adapted? Are they being scrapped and new ones implemented? So we have to ask ourselves down the line of command now, where are the shortfalls that is not allowing these plans to bear fruit? And then the second thing is, are the plans really the correct plans that are being implemented?
Yeah, I want to just draw your attention to, well, some of the pretty latest news on the matter. There was this, there's a story in the newspaper. As we speak this morning, the headline is Business Community Supports Police Roadblocks, and we're talking about the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the big group in the business community in the country, saying that they are supporting the sort of rollout of roadblocks by the police in different parts of the country. To what extent that is effective as a means of driving down the actual activity by people who will commit crime and who have been committing crime in the country with the murders and other kinds of criminal activity being what they are and where they are?
Sure, and Andy, some of my colleagues, we were having this discussion yesterday about the roadblock scenario yesterday. Do you really think we're going to catch all those mandates? So we have a little comments being made by a few chambers, and the next thing we see is a set of roadblocks inconveniencing the general public. I really think that was just a matter of saying, oh, listen, we have some police officers, let me show them that we have a presence and create a scenario whereby the people would see that the police are out there. But really and truly, was it strategically done? Most of the times, from the time a roadblock is set up, there are so many chat groups on WhatsApp and so on that criminals will be alerted, hey, we have a roadblock in this intersection or that intersection. So we need an effective patrol system, a good communication system between the patrol cars, and basically an eye out there. So when police park up alongside the highway, instead of they park on the highway and playing on their phones and chatting with their friends, which happens, everybody's human, but playing a more observatory role, even using the camera systems that are on some of these traffic lights and so on, to monitor and look for specific characters, or I don't want to use the word characters, but persons of interest or characters that appear to be suspicious. then now they can radio the car up the road and they can look out for this and hold a very small roadblock for a little bit. I think they need to have a little more streamlining of how we do roadblocks and how roadblocks are roved. And really, in the nighttime especially, it's all about strategic planning. So if, for example, let's use Sangre Grande for an example.
Yeah.
If you have to come in and out of Sangre Grande, there are really four main access routes that you need to either the Toca Road, Manzanilla Road, the Valencia Stretch, or the Guayco Tamana Road. That's the only way you're going to get out of Grande. And the little side streets that connect these roads. So we have to ask ourselves, when these crimes are committed, this is where we need speed and dedication by officers to set up what you call a quick roadblock. So let's say they rob, I don't know, I'll use an example, one of the food chain outlets on Sangre Grande, and the bandits have to make an escape. They're supposed to have that camera system operational to a point where the persons of interest could be spotted quickly and a roadblock could be set up immediately. And that is where roadblocks could be effective, rather than randomly setting up a roadblock and trying to search every single vehicle that is coming up the road. Now, I'm not saying that roadblocks don't have merit. They do have merit at certain points in time, but it must be strategically done.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your point.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah. What is the nature of the discussions which may be taking place between business leaders in the country and the Commissioner of Police and her staff directly?
Well, I can tell you that when the Commissioner of Police was first appointed, the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers executives, we got together and we had a meeting. And that meeting was really carried towards FULs and the granting of FULs. We strongly believe that persons who do fit the criteria to obtain a legal firearm should be granted a legal firearm and should be granted that within reasonable time. Many businessmen, many business owners, we live in fear to the extent where we don't know if today is going to be the day we get home invaded. We don't know if today is the day we're going to come home and find our loved ones either tied up, murdered, beaten. We don't know on our way to do our usual business transactions if we are going to get kidnapped. Now, some of us find ways to protect ourselves and we hire private securities and bodyguards. And at the end of the day, is it an affordable process for us as business owners that every time we need to go somewhere, maybe the bank or so on, we need to hire private security? At all our business establishments, do we need to hire private security? And that comes with a significant cost, especially if the security is armed. At the end of the day, our talks with the commissioner was about how we, from the Confederation of Regional Business Chambers, can assist in any way possible. Some of us have, like for myself, in the Eastern Business Merchants Association, we have embarked on a CCTV camera system, which is going to cover all the entries and exits in and out of Sangre Grande, some of the small roads, some of the major business areas and places of interest. And we are currently having barbecues and so on to help raise some funds to outfit, purchase TVs, etc. And we work with the station councils to try to achieve this goal. We even set up our own WhatsApp platform for emergencies within our business community. When some persons may set up little village groups and neighborhood patrols to monitor, neighborhood watch groups, to monitor what's happening. We have had these discussions on how we can assist. It boils down to the same thing. We find ourselves going into talk shop after talk shop. We find that many times we were given reassurances of certain things to be completed, and it's not done within what we call realistic timelines. And many of us are of the view now that our time spent having discussions is falling on deaf ears. And really, we are at a point where in Trinidad and Tobago, we need action. So whoever now, and I'm saying this And from a managerial point of view, those who are in authority needs to put their plans in place, and they need to do basic reviews similar to what we do in the business sector. Maybe adopt as a smart approach system, and look at, are the plans really simple? Is it measurable? Is something achievable? Is it something that we can review in a timely manner, reassess, and execute, and continue the process, and then hold those now who are accountable for not carrying out procedures. So it's all about management now. Listen, we are in Trinidad and Tobago. All of us have a neighbor, a friend, or someone who is in the police service, and you may sit down with them for lunch, and they will say, listen, guys, we can't do anything additional. We don't have the vehicles that we need. We don't have simple things like photocopying machines and stationery, and proper administrative assistance to help do some of the work. So you have to now look at the police service getting the necessary tools to do their jobs. We know there are good ones out there who are willing and trying their best to make sure that Trinidad is kept safe. But if you don't have the tools to apply a trade, then we must now ask questions. Where are the billions of dollars in the Ministry of Health Ministry of National Security being spent?
Yeah, so there's the Eastern Business Association, there's the sort of Samoa Business Association, there's Tunapuna, there's Couva, there's Shogunas, there's San Fernando, there's Siparia, Faizabad. Is there any part of the country by that construct where the load about crime and its impact on business operations is not as severe as some others?
Well, I can safely tell you that each different business district may have similar crime happening, but in different frequencies. So, for example, we might find more petty robberies in some parts, and in some parts we have higher home invasions. So when we discuss and we liaise together and we say, okay, well, we find that on the east-west corridor, we're seeing a lot more home invasions, a little more violence. Yes, it is happening in the southern region and central region, but maybe not to an extent as the east-west corridor. And then there are some things that might happen in the east-west corridor that is lesser in the central south district, that may be lesser in the east-west corridor. The full point of the matter is we have looked at how this is impacting on our business. Many businesses, for the longest time, have been expanding their hours. We are trying to be competitive. Yes, we are seeing the significant economic downturn in Trinidad and Tobago. We have customers who come in and they give you their stories on a daily basis that they can't afford. And if they can get this on credit, and they will come and pay you at the end of the month, or if they get their pension. And many of our business owners who work within our communities, and we know some of the business, we try to help. But then now, how much can the business community still buffer after a post-pandemic era? And we have to look at now where some of the businesses who would tend to open in the evenings to accommodate persons who would have finished work to come and shop, have a nice time, meet some friends while they're doing the shopping. That has all changed. Sangre Grande because I'm from Sangre Grande, I'll use Grande as a reference. Has always been a town where we had a little late night shopping. Now you would find that the young ladies who jump off the maxi, let's say at 5 p.m., trying to make their way home, they are being heckled and harassed by delinquents on the streets. And so they feel uncomfortable. Two, because of the high crime rate and what is happening, everybody tries to reach home as fast as possible. Businesses are realizing significant drops in evening sales, which is impacting a lot of businesses. So you tend to find that businesses are closing maybe a little bit earlier. And then some of us who do decide to maintain our business hours, we recognize that by 7 p.m., the place is literally a ghost town. And you want to wonder if every evening is a Sunday evening. So even on a Friday, for example, the business owners who engage in the entertainment industry, and I speak with them. They said, listen, it's not business as usual. You may get the little pickup on the month end, maybe the fortnight weekend, but that's it. The dynamics of shopping in Trinidad and Tobago for the SME sector has reduced, and it is putting the SME sector at risk of closure.
What's your response to the Commissioner of Police's statement on the latest situation? She says in this story here, we have not lost a handle on crime, but it continues to be diverse and we continue to adjust our strategies.
Andy, let's say when we assess different strategies and protocols, we must be results oriented. And if both you and I and the members of the general public could hear that the solvent rates of murders is somewhere like under 20%, you have to ask yourself, if back in school you were making under 20%, would you consider that performance? So we have to say, I would probably say no. These things are really quite not acceptable right now. Trinidad and Tobago has been looking a little more serious into crime, especially within the last 3 years. You're hearing the conversations, you're hearing the information coming out from government, from different ministers, from the TTPS, and then we have nothing to show for it. Remember, in the very early in January this year, we were told by the commissioner that by June, July, we would have some significant changes. Well, we have reached this point now, and we are not seeing it. And actually, the general public is a little more concerned. We have to address the situation of crime in a different way, in a different manner, different tactic, and try to stop what is the main cause. If our concern is illegal guns, then what done to secure the borders of Trinidad and Tobago? What have we done to upgrade customs and so on with proper checks? What have we done on the ports? Because it's only one way it's going to come in, is either by air or sea. And I don't think we have any underground tunnels from Trinidad to Venezuela, unless there's one and we don't know.
Yeah. You have one of your members. I'm not sure which regional group he might be in, but I'm referring to Mr. Gary Aboud in a story in one of the papers saying that the business community ought to give the police its full support. But is there any question about that? About the
Of course. Yeah. So Andy, from time to time, the business community, because of our involvement in the station council, because of our involvement within the community, we do a lot of community work, and a lot of people don't understand what the business community of Trinidad and Tobago does for the people of Trinidad. We have officers who would come to your business place, and we may know them because they live in, as I said, Trinidad is a small place, so everybody knows someone. And they might say, well, boss, we're working real hard to achieve this, but, the van given a little problem, the suspension not working good, the power steering not working. At the Eastern Business Merchants Association, we have actually helped repair a few vehicles here in San Grande, because at that point in time, they only had one operational and about 5 parked up waiting for repairs. So when you have different units, and I think the general public don't understand some of this. You may have the CID unit, you might have the child protection unit, you might have the traffic branch unit, everybody with a different portfolio that requires a vehicle to operate. Now, yes, I'm not saying no. Within recent times, we would have seen some new vehicles on the road. And we welcome that. We welcome whatever little initiatives are done. But then, is it really effective? And then, why are we not monitoring the use of the police vehicles in a different way? Especially if something goes wrong, very simple, maybe a small little fender bender because you're chasing a criminal. Why can't these things be repaired in a reasonable time to get them back a vehicle on the road to protect patients? What happens is these vehicles park up, they remain there for years, and then they are either dumped or sold off in an auction. So we have to manage how we spend our money as a country and manage the way in which the vehicles are taken. Maybe they need to appoint one specific team within the TTPS for vehicle management. I don't know if they have one already, but I mean, we have to look at these. Many times, you may pass by a police station and you see lots of police vehicles parked up ready for dumping. So we have to ask, well, how is the management of this being done? So yes, the business community, we help repair vehicles. We donate different things. We may donate stationery. Sometimes there have been requests for certain things. We try what we can do. Look, for example, in order for there to have their station council meetings and so on, the EBMA, where I sit as president, we recently helped them refurbish their conference room. Basic stuff to help with the curtains and, you know, little small things, lighting systems. Sometimes they have issues with simple things like a fluorescent light bulb in an office, and we help them change it. So we do different things. We really try to help where we can, within the right way. But at the end of the day, we have to understand, how is the entire TTPS being managed? How is the funding in the TTPS being spent? And then what they are spending it on, is it bringing about meaningful change? And the answer to that question is no, we have not seen changes. So we could go on the broader picture, for where legislative things are required to help them do their jobs better. We heard about the body cameras. I haven't really seen a police with a body camera so far. So I really don't know, you know, where our money is going.
Yeah, Mr. Kiran Singh, he's a leader in the San Fernando Area Chamber of Commerce, and he's taking issue with, I think, the latest announcement by the Commissioner of Police about issuing a high alert, and he's asking, well, you know, looking at scans at it, asking, well, why now you're just talking about a high alert, and what does high alert mean in your understanding?
I mean, well, like in a general view, in high alert, we would say, well, we want to pay a little more attention and be a little more specific and be out there in a little more show of force. But really and truly, we want to be a little more in high alert. Listen, we are at 500 plus murders a year. When we were hitting over 100 murders a year, this is when this country should have paid serious attention to crime. And like everything else, Trinidadians on the whole take a very, for lack of a better word, a lackadaisical approach to dealing with stuff. We tend to not be a very proactive society. We are a reactive society. And so we wait till things happen before we try to prevent them from happening. We should have recognized the fact that when murders were growing from 100, 150 to 200, 300, as the case may be, at that point in time, serious measures should have been put in place. And what are those measures? We need to monitor what is happening with our youth and the education system. We have lots of people, due to our economic situation, being unemployed. We have lots of people who have kids, right, that have no jobs. And then it comes down now to the survival game. And then you come out there now to try to get a work in an economy that is slowing down, or should I say, economy that is failing. And we are the SME sector, we really cannot hire any additional people. And we talk SME sector, even the guy with a car wash is a small businessman, and he may have 1 or 2 workers. And if he's not getting enough cars to wash because people say, well, listen, I really can't afford to wash my car, I'll wash it home myself, this cycle continues. So what we find happening is we have a lot of youths out there with no prospects for growth for their future. Even if they were not educated to a point, there is something that someone can find a job in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it's pumping gas at the gas station or helping a farmer or maybe doing some contractual labor work. But the reality is the SME sector has reached our breaking point where we cannot afford to hire more staff. Now, what would you expect a man to do who has 2 little kids? He really wants to work, but he has no means in supporting them. Maybe some of the government grant system, he made it because of all the bureaucratic processes. It becomes a burden to apply for a simple thing like an ID card, a birth paper. And yes, we might say, well, no, these things are electronic. You have to ask yourself, do these people have a computer and do they have internet? And how are they going to access this? So if your child is starving, you expect, no, we are breeding an environment for a man to say, well, you know what? Let me go and beg for something and hope I get it. And most trainees might give you $5 or $10 because there's no longer $1 this rounds. And you have beggars asking you for $20 and $100. You would not believe. And then on top of that, if these guys are so desperate now, they might commit petty crimes and petty robberies. You may have generally good people who are trying to survive in a country that is not providing an opportunity for growth and development. Mind you, we do have some criminals out there who really don't care about anything. They don't want to work. They just want the easy money. And they find these guys now who are trying to survive to become their employees and send them out with a little bit of marijuana and weed and cocaine to try to make some money. And at the end of the day, when they don't repay who they take from, they die by the sword. They live by the sword, die by the sword. So what is Trinidad and Tobago prepared to do, apart from crime fighting in one aspect of the TTPS, but what are we prepared to do from a social service and an educational sector to bring our people to some form of standard whereby they could probably engage in some basic things? And my advice would be, let's help grow our food base. And for those who are unemployed, let the country embark on one massive agriculture campaign to feed the population of Trinidad and Tobago, bring down our food prices, make us a little more competitive on the Caribbean market, create employment, and maybe that may prevent some of these guys from going to try to make the fast money.
All right. All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much. I'm well said, and you have a lot of ideas and suggestions as to how to do it. Mr. Mohammed, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andy, for having us.
All right, Ricardo Mohammed, Vice Chair of the Confederation of Business Chambers in Trinidad, and also President of the Eastern Business and Merchant Association. They're talking against the headline in the paper, "Time for talk is done. It's time for action now concerning crime in Trinidad and Tobago." This has been 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
WESN.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break the balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the game.
no.
Let's go to the last part.
Hello there and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. Before we even start this repatriation and reintegration process that we've already failed, or are we doomed to fail?
You've got to invest in the institutions that you've established to carry out those sorts of core functions.
We now get into the regional updates to give you an understanding of what's happening across our neighboring islands.
We have available a number of films that are worth
sowing. So it was day one when the French Revolution started to develop the concept of universal human rights.
What happened this time is unprecedented. It's one of the largest terrorist attacks in history.
Let's welcome Carl to the program. Carl is over there, next to himself. Hello, Carl.
Silky anteater or pygmy anteater, and we have 2 of the 3 species of anteaters right here.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference. The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue, St. Anne's.